Good.
Alright. Welcome to season 3, episode 23 of MotivateMe313's podcast. We are the Oz Media team. We're here with Khaled Beydoun, the professor, the activist, the author, the basketball player, all the above. Shout out to Khaled Beydoun from the city of Dearborn, currently resides in Arizona, so we're looking forward to another great show. We appreciate everybody that's in the building today. Shout out to little big bro Yusuf Abbott's, always doing the thing on the cameras. Of course, you got my sister Abid and Sada as well, co-hosts of the podcast. We appreciate them. So, Khaled, first of all, nice to have you here today. Welcome back to the city of Dearborn/Dearborn Heights. It was always nice, great to see you. We've actually had him on a podcast show before, prior. But can we just start off with how have you been? What's new in Khaled's world? What you been up to these days? Very busy, by the way, very busy.
It's been a very busy time, obviously, with what's happening in Gaza, what's happening in Yemen, what's happening around the region. So in addition to teaching my law school classes at Arizona State, I've been traveling a lot, posting a lot, speaking a lot on what's happening in Gaza, and just amplifying the genocide from a Muslim perspective.
For sure. Go ahead, I bet anybody say something.
Perspective that's needed because the media doesn't like to shine on what's really happening. I noticed just from your content that you can't even put pictures anymore. It's your breaking and then your words that are powerful that people usually constantly read and post. So what made you change from using pictures but instead just focusing on the key words that's happening?
Two things I think for me as an author and as an academic, it's really important for people to sort of see and hear the ideas and the arguments that aren't being covered by Western mainstream media outlets. So that was a major motivation. The second major motivation is you guys might have noticed that on Meta, specifically Instagram, there's a lot of censorship. Specifically a lot of censorship of photos, video, and then I made that pivot to text because it's harder to censor text than it is to censor images or video.
Very convenient.
Yeah, very, there's a lot of stuff to talk about with you, Khaled. There's a lot been going on social media and stuff like that. But let's start off with last night's charity basketball game. What are your overall thoughts on the game and how everything went? And, your overall thoughts on how the whole situation.
I mean, above all, I definitely want to commend you guys, right, for having an event of that kind. When I was young, growing up around here, we didn't have events that bridged communities that are really close to one another. So it was beautiful just to be part of an event that brings Hamtramck, Dearborn, people from those communities together. And the second dimension of it, that was raising funds for a really important cause, made it really beautiful. I'm getting older, so I'm not the basketball player I once was, so it was painful and tiring. But no, above all, it was really, and also a chance to have fun amid all the dark and bleak stuff that's happening is a really empowering thing.
So, you mentioned that the charity game was for Gaza and for Yemen. Can you explain to people out there that may not know or may be caught up in the mainstream media and don't really know what's going on in Gaza right now? Give us a brief explanation of what exactly is happening in Gaza.
Yeah, so today marks the 154th day of the genocide. And what a genocide is, I know that term is used very pervasively across social media and off of it, but it's important for us to understand what a genocide means, right? A genocide essentially is when a government intends to bring about the elimination of the people, right? By way of mass death, and we're seeing that mass death to the tune of 45,000 people killed since the beginning of this genocide. We're seeing it with the destruction of the infrastructure in Gaza. We're seeing it with the famine that's really emerging and spiraling in many ways. So we're seeing Israel really, in an unhinged way, unleash horrific and godly violence on the people who are indigenous or native to that land. And not only Israel, but us living in the United States and being American, our government, the Biden administration, contributing significantly to the expansion and advancement of that genocide. So 154 days, 5 months, 2 days before Ramadan, just to understand that the scale of the horror that's unfolding in Gaza is something that we ought to speak up against. And you guys being Yemen obviously see what's happening in Gaza has a spillover effect. Right? It's not only taking place in Gaza, it's not only taking place in the West Bank, it's taking place in Lebanon, the bombing in South Lebanon. It's taking place with the Yemeni people standing up against the genocidal Israeli government. We've seen what they've done, and I commend what they've done in terms of blocking the Red Sea from Israeli ships. But Yemen is also being involved by the United States, the UK, the coalition's partners. So it's been a very dark time, a bleak time, and that's why I thought it's important for me to research these issues like Islamophobia, human rights for Muslims, to really be vocal and visible as to what's taking place right now in the region.
Great point. Thank you for sharing all that information. Feel free to always share what you have to say as well. President Joe Biden, there's a lot going on, especially in this area where people are really uncommitted because they don't want to support President Joe Biden. So, how much do you blame President Joe Biden for what's going on in Palestine? And, I guess, why do you blame him for that certain amount?
I blame him immensely, right? So it's key for young people to understand that the United States is not only the primary sort of ally and sponsor of the state of Israel, it is a global superpower. Whatever it does and doesn't do impacts policy. So Joe Biden right now wants to end the genocide he can with one phone call. If he wants to bring about a ceasefire, he can do so with one phone call. So the United States and Joe Biden specifically are the primary orchestrators and conductors of this genocide right now, which is why we have to not only vote against him, but identify the fact that he is very much the primary catalyst in this genocide. So in addition to, I saw what happened here in Michigan with the uncommitted movement. A lot of individuals like me are fully committed that we're not going to vote for Joe Biden. But in addition to that, I think it's really important for us as Arab, as Muslims, to really punish Joe Biden as a consequence of him killing 45,000 people during this genocide. And I think the last point I want to raise is, unless there's a ceasefire, a miraculous ceasefire in the next 2 days, which there won't be, this will be the first time that a sitting American president will be advancing a genocide against Muslims during the month of Ramadan. And the scale of that really has to be understood by us as Muslims to understand how vile this government is.
And I find it so amusing in a sense how they think that doing a ceasefire just in Ramadan is going to do any justice, as if there isn't already just mental, even just forget about the physical abuse or the physical pain, but the mental pain. And they don't understand how in Ramadan we are really practicing patience. It's not about the food or anything like that. So they don't understand the wrath of what they're doing and then also putting it on our holiest month. So I just, all the clapping when Kamala Harris, announced it and whatnot, as if it's something that they should be proud of, it's just very, very sad.
And then America being the land of the people, it's not a proud time to be an American for sure. And and we are showing our opposing stand of being uncommitted. And as Joe Biden, you are not the leader of the people right now. So hopefully we can get him or get somebody better in office, or he can do a permanent ceasefire.
And I've always been proud to call myself a Yemeni American. I never just call myself Yemeni or just American. But right now, I'm just like, I'm Yemeni. Like, I'm not proud to be American whatsoever, because it's a shame to be living in a country that is just very, very, very bombarded.
So when you vote uncommitted, it definitely sends a message. But do you think that will, the votes and the constant pressure from the Arab and just from other people who support the Palestinian people and are against the genocide, do you think that will actually make an impact in Joe Biden with his camp, or do you feel like this is just all, a mirage? They're just trying to, get some good words out just so people can be like, hey, let's vote for them, and this is going to continue on?
No, it's going to make a considerable impact, because understand that Michigan is a battleground state, and understand that in order for Joe Biden to win a second term and win the presidency, he has to win states like Michigan, like Georgia, like Arizona, like Texas, which are battleground states. So uncommitted numerically takes votes away from Joe Biden that he needs to beat Donald Trump. Right? So it's going to have a significant political impact, but I think even more than just this election. And for me, some things are bigger than one individual election. I think this election, this genocide is far bigger than any one election. We as Muslims believe that there are things greater than this dunya, right? And this is a moment now where we have to stand on that, stand on business and essentially say that The killing of Palestinians is not okay, and that supersedes the influence of any one election. So Joe Biden now and Kamala Harris, which is why they're raising these humanitarian aid projects all of a sudden 5 months into the genocide, are saying that they are losing votes and potentially can lose the election the more and more this uncommitted movement mounts. Right? So they only care about the political dimensions and getting votes. They don't care about the humanitarian interests of Palestinian people at all. So it's definitely going to have an impact. The sad short-term reality is that it benefits Donald Trump. Right? But the long-term reality, which is really important, is that it communicates to the Democratic Party that we are not a people that you can take for granted if you continue to genocide our people.
Great points. Thank you, Khaled, for that. We're going to take a quick break. We have not mentioned yet, but we are here at Qahwah House. I forgot to mention that. So shout out to Qahwah House. It's one of our sponsors of Oz Media. This is the Dearborn Heights location. They have a few Dearborn locations. I know they have a location in New Jersey. They have a location in Texas. So shout out to Qahwah House. We appreciate them and their support as always. And so this is a new thing that we're doing. Is an in-person show. Shout out to Khaled Beydoun for being here today. And you know, he's going to be selling his books. If you want to just quickly move the camera right quick to the books right quick, Yusuf. And so he's actually doing a book signing today as well. So, you know, we appreciate Khaled for his support, like I said, as always. So with that said, moving on back to the topics is, you know, when it comes to verbiage or using the right language, when it comes to talking about Gaza, like, why is that important? And, you know, for that, people to really understand what's going on, you know, using the right words, using the right language when it comes down to what's happening in Gaza.
Many reasons, right? I think two principal reasons are, the first is misinformation, right? We don't want to be complicit in perpetuating the wrong information as to what's taking place on the ground, because that will discredit us as individuals speaking up on the issue. The second issue is censorship, right? Saying the wrong things can get you penalized, punished. Individuals have lost their accounts online. Some of my students have lost internships for saying the wrong things. Some people have lost jobs. You guys might have heard for taking the pro-Palestinian stance. For not even saying the wrong thing, sometimes for saying the right thing. So having not only the right verbiage, but having the strategically intelligent language at this time is really important, not only to send the right message, but basically to be able to safeguard yourself from perspective harm from Zionists or from other individuals who are trying to undermine you.
And it's kind of,
It's like an adult form of bullying. Like, oh, you're not going to be on my side, and you're speaking up, so no, now, you know, you don't have your job. So, I just wanted to say that.
Well, you know, I'm a professor, so I'm a nerd, right? So there's a really important book that young people should read called 1984 by George Orwell. And what Orwell talks about in that book is there are moments in human history where governments essentially try to shape and condition how people think and punish individuals for not thinking the right way. And we're very much living in an Orwellian moment right now.
So, talking about your book a little bit, a friend of mine yesterday mentioned to me that he had ordered your book a couple months ago, didn't really get a chance to read it. And so when he actually opened up the book, that the cover was the cover of your book, but once he opened up the book, it was a completely different book inside. And then it made me remember of a post that I think I seen on social media, I think it was about your books and maybe even other books as well, how Amazon was putting covers of the original book on there, but then replacing it with another book inside of it. Is this actually common and it's true and has happened? We've heard this before.
Yeah, it's happened at least I think 24 times. Yeah, I put a couple of posts up showing how individuals who had ordered my book had gotten, in one instance they actually got a pro-Israel book. And they took up, they didn't even like have my cover, just had to be the wrong book. So I mean, what that, and I had a conversation with an executive at Amazon about this. And so what was happening is one of their employees in like the supply chain, who was obviously Islamophobic, would switch the book and then send them another book. So yeah, I heard about this happening at least 3 times, and I'm sure it's happening a lot more.
As well.
I mean, is there a way where you can, like, you're a lawyer, so can you press charges?
I mean, the individual can make a claim for a new book, but me as an author, I can't really sue against Amazon. If it happened like excessively, like, you know, hundreds or thousands of times, potentially you could. But I'm not interested, you know. To expose them like publicly is more effective than really.
You want your readers to just get the right book.
Exactly. I just want to get the ideas across.
I love it. So, you've been one of the biggest activists when it comes to mistreatment of the Muslims and Arabs worldwide. Why is that the case? Like, why do you feel the need to be that voice? Today's title is Voice for the Voiceless. So why do you feel like you need to be that voice for the voiceless?
I don't feel like I need to be honest with you. I feel like we all have to be, as Arab Muslims, marginalized people. For me, the way it came about was I went to law school after 9/11, after the September 11 terror attacks. I went to law school to want to be a sports agent. Huge sports fan, grew up, being an athlete, and that's why I wanted to go to law school, be an agent. But 9/11 happened, and I decided to change my trajectory. I was noticing how hate crimes and hate incidents were increasing in communities like this. Laws were being enacted that had a very, very vile effect on Arab Muslim Americans across the country, and how the law specifically was addressing those issues from our perspective. So after practicing law for roughly 9 years, I decided to transition to legal teaching because I wanted to start writing about these issues by way of research, but also by way of books. So yeah, I don't feel like it's my responsibility. It just kind of organically evolved that way.
Well, you do a great job, man.
Do you consider yourself passionate about it?
Oh, for sure, yeah. I think as a Muslim, I believe that Allah puts us here for specific purposes, and I definitely feel like it's my role. I've been blessed with specific skills and talents to do this, so it doesn't feel like work, to be honest with you. Like, it feels like an extension of what I've been doing anyway. And I'm deeply, not only passionate about it, but it's sort of a vocation of obligation, and I feel obligated to do this work as well.
Basically, I always mention this to people whenever I think of what's been going on in Palestine, and just in general, whenever you get any news that you want from the Arab or Muslim people, you are one of the main news sources. You would think that you would hope that the mainstream media would be that, but that's not the case. But for us to be able to go to social media, we mentioned Sean King, beforehand. He got banned, so he can't even do anything anymore on social media. You're still out there. I can't. How many more people can you guys? I don't know who you guys get your news from, but you guys are the people that I come to get that information. And so, how do you feel being that person? Being one of the few people that are doing the work that mainstream media should be doing, but obviously they're not. Do you feel sometimes threatened? I'm gonna be honest with you. Do you feel threatened? Do you feel I don't know, they're gonna cancel you? They're gonna try to shut you down?
Or even nervous of what specific things you're going to post?
Or pressure? Good question.
Pressure, nervous.
All of that.
Right.
Then in between.
Yeah, I think that, the first sort of recognition is what you just said, that Western media outlets, because they're corporations essentially, are not going to objectively neutrally assess what's happening in the region. So those voids need to be filled, right? So it's sort of an activist intellectual project in doing that. Second, the great risk comes with doing this work and addressing specific issues that are against how power is configured in this country. Zionists wield a lot of power in the United States, especially in my field, being a law professor. And I've been threatened professionally in a range of ways, lost opportunities. I had a contract with Nike that was pulled, providing diversity, equity, and inclusion consulting to Nike. That was pulled. Donations to my academic center were pulled. I can't be fired because I'm tenured, so alhamdulillah, that's good news. But also physical threat too, right? So there's a reason why I don't post a lot about me, my pictures, my family members, just to insulate. People don't even know me, but they know kind of my posts, and that's intentional. It's by design. So there is threat, but I think that it kind of comes with the territory, and I knew that by speaking up on these issues, there'd be a lot of backlash.
Well, I appreciate you for being that voice for us because, like I said, there's only a certain number of people that we can follow the news and get the right information from, so thank you for that. Today, like I said, you sold a few books, you know, the book is The New Crusades, Global Islamophobia. Can you tell us what this book is all about?
Yeah, so basically it's about how, you guys know what Islamophobia is, obviously, right? Discrimination against Muslims by way of law, but also by way of societal actors, like bigots on the ground. So the book is about that, but it also addresses what's happening with Islamophobia around the world, right? So Islamophobia looks radically different in countries around the world. If you look at what's happening in India, for instance, it's dramatically different than what's happening in China, with the way in which that government has constructed concentration camps, imprisoning 2 million Muslims, versus how it looks in France, where there are things like headscarf bans in places like France, or in Sweden, which has different systems, or in the United States. So for me, the book was an opportunity to sort of like connect the dots with what Islamophobia looks like on a transnational global scale.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I mean, again, how can people purchase this book if they want to get it on?
Yeah, Amazon, or you might get the wrong book, obviously. But yeah, the press, University of California Press, but also bookstores. It's very convenient bookstores. The airport here has it. I had a couple copies when I was walking in there. So.
Hey, that's my book.
It was cool, yeah. We get racially profiled in the airport, but now we have books in the airport. So that's progress.
Yeah, man. That's awesome. You guys say something to that?
I was gonna say, like, they take comments and they just like want to sprinkle, you know, some good, yeah, just enough to make them feel like they're not Islamophobic.
So how can Muslims worldwide continue to fight against Islamophobia?
It's harder in some places, right? So, I mean, let's compare China versus the United States. China is an authoritarian country, it's a communist country, there's no free speech, there's no free exercise of religion. The government can essentially say Islam is criminalized. Where Uyghur Muslims live, Ramadan has been criminalized since 2015. So in that country, they really can't fight back. In countries like this one, we can't fight back because there are specific legal protections that we still have. They've been diminished, but we still have them. I think in the United States, it's important for us to be global leaders for the rest of the Ummah because we have those rights. We have privilege that these other Muslims don't have. So it's important for us to be unapologetic about our faith, not to hide our faith, not to change our names. We see a lot of people in this community, specifically, Lebanese friends, changing their names and trying to assimilate because they feel as if that will help them get ahead. And that's something that is, I think, cowardly and something that we should never do. So the first thing we have to do, even if you're not political, all of us are not political, and that's okay. But it's important for us as Muslims specifically, the best way to fight Islamophobia is to be proud of who we are, proud of our deen, and not sort of hide and conceal who we genuinely are, just to feel as if that'll get us ahead. And it might get you ahead in the dunya, but the dunya is only temporary. You know that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's tough. It's tough. You never know what people are going through, so that's why it's just kind of, it hurts when you hear those kind of stories.
Especially if they're selling places like you said, like China, or like even in the U.S. where it's like literally all predominantly white and whatnot. Like I feel like that's where it's kind of gets like they get scared because they feel like it's just one versus how many. But when you're in this area where it's like all Arab and Muslims, there's no need to be afraid. We're stronger together.
Yeah, I think the strongest thing to do is to be knowledgeable not only in your religion but also in the law. And knowing your rights, knowing what you can do, and using your voice to speak up about it, especially in countries that you can in America. And then also shed light on the countries that can't so they can get help as well.
Yeah, to your point, I taught at the University of Arkansas for 2 years. And that was a dramatically different cultural experience than living in a place like this. And that was one of the first times in my life where I was really careful and thoughtful about how I present myself. My wife wears the hijab, and so those things were focal in my mind in ways that they would never be in a place like Turkey.
But did you ever encounter Muslims and whatnot? Yeah.
Very few.
Oh.
Few and far between.
You don't usually hear Muslims in Arkansas.
There's not many of us here.
And did you feel like you were just connected to them in a sense when you met them automatically, or it's like, hey, Muslim brother?
Yeah, in some ways, it was also a lot of growth, right? Because when you're not in a comfort zone, it forces you to kind of try to build friendships and bonds with people who otherwise wouldn't live in a place like this. Let me find a connection with this white guy. we both like MMA or boxing, that could be a source of friendship. Let me find a friendship with this Asian person from Japan. We might have a common interest in, I don't know, literature or law. So I think there's pros and cons, because when you live in a community like Dearborn, you kind of live back in your comfort zone and don't diversify your life. But when you live in a context where you're kind of singled out, it forces you to be more creative and innovative with the kind of relationships you build.
How do you like Arizona?
It's cool, man. It's beautiful, right? So above all, like living somewhere where beautiful mountain ranges, natural deserts, great weather. Phoenix has been, it's been really fun.
I heard there's a bunch of Muslims over there.
Yeah, there's a lot. Not as much as here, but it's scattered. But there's a pretty sizable Muslim community, and they've been there for a bit. There's a huge Palestinian community, people from Sudan, Somalia, a small Yemeni community. It's been nice so far. But I live in 3 different places, so I'm always constantly on.
In Arizona, or you live in different places in the United States?
So I spent the fall in Washington, and then this semester in Arizona, and probably the summer we'll spend in California.
Mood and Ruben. Can you tell us a little bit about what you and Sean King are doing recently, by the way? You guys are on a world tour going around. What's that about?
Yeah, so as a consequence of what's happening in Reza, we launched a tour, a global tour, where we started off in the UK, doing 4 cities, addressing the person what's happening in the genocide, and then it just sort of developed so much momentum that we got invited to do more sites. So we're booked until July, I think it is, to do events in cities around the world. Sean King and I, but also other people. So in San Diego, you guys know the rapper Macklemore? Macklemore's going to be part of the event. John Legend will be part of the event. So we're getting a lot of notable people to pick up on the tour.
I love that. So, this is some advice time, guys. What advice would you have for Muslims in Arab who feel like the world is against them right now, with everything that's happening in the news, with everything that might be happening right in front of them, wherever they're at? Like, what advice do you have for those Arab Muslims?
My primary advice is to, again, just stand proud of who you are at all times. When you occupy the truth, so an analogy would be with what's happening in Gaza. So Israel's got so much more money, so much more military might, stronger alliances. But what makes the Palestinian cause so resonant is that they occupy the truth and the moral truth, right? And that's also the same for us as Muslims. Like, our deen is the truth, and once you have that, everything else is sort of secondary or irrelevant. So it's key to recognize that. The second thing is to be mindful of the fact that by virtue of living in a place like the United States, we have a range of rights and freedoms and luxuries and comfort that other Muslims don't. You guys see, we're standing here in this cafe, we can all go home when it's home, we have all the food we need, we have loved ones around us. That isn't the case with people in Yemen, where a famine's been taking place for 9 years, where a war has been taking place for 9 years. That isn't the case in South Lebanon, where 100,000 people have had to evacuate because of the bombing. That isn't the case, obviously, in Gaza, where genocide's taking place. So we always have to be mindful of the privilege and the blessings we have, but not rest on those blessings, but understand that those blessings come with a responsibility for us to speak up for our brothers and sisters who don't have those advantages.
So, we want to do a rapid fire question with you, just so we can get to know you a little better. Before we do that, I just want to say, I think I mentioned this before, be sure to follow us on all of our socials. You have YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, all under Oz Media. You can listen to our podcast shows on Apple and Spotify podcasts under Oz Media. And shout out to the sponsors. We got the Balkan House, Juice Box, BC Adhesives, Specialty Medical Center, Hanley International Academy, and of course, the Qahwah House, the place that we are at right here. This is our first in-person show right here in the Dearborn Heights location, the Qahwah House. We appreciate them and their support. They got the best Adhesives tea, got the coffee, you got the everything mini bites. What do you guys want? You guys want to share anything else?
I love the qahwah. The qahwah and the coffee. Their espresso is so yummy.
Yeah, Yemeni tea, iced Yemeni tea latte is the best there, and their shanghai, for sure.
Alright, so rapid fire questions. Ramsey, if you can, please get a clock rolling for 1 minute. We're going to try to get this in 1 minute, so I'm going to fly through this. Yeah, I mean, if you could actually get this too as well, you don't have to be in the camera for that. So maybe we can put this as the clip for the show. Okay, it's gonna be random. Okay, you gotta get it within 1 minute. And we're a team, by the way, so I have to ask you questions quick too. All right, you ready? 3. All right, and go. Would you rather be up early in the morning or stay up late at night? What's your favorite thing to do in the summer? Run. Alright. Well, we might. Okay. There we go. If you can afford any car, which one would you drive?
I like the Porsche Taycan.
Porsche Taycan. Alright. You got it? There you go. I heard that. What is your favorite movie? City of God. Alright. What is your favorite color? Blue. If you were an influencer, what would you be doing other than a law professor as well? Sports agent. If you could have any superpower, what would it be?
Ability to fly.
Ability to fly. LeBron or MJ? Marvel or DC? Neither.
I don't watch that.
Okay. What's the best podcast show that has a family and that does community events and
You bet.
there you go. Appreciate you, Khaled. Any final words, any final comments, any final things that you want to share out there for people that might be watching this later?
No, thanks for having me, guys. I really, admire and love what you guys are doing here in the community. Keep going on, keep growing this, keep evolving the podcast, holding charity basketball games. You guys make me proud. So are really paving the way for our community.
Any final words, sisters?
I just want to say I'm also proud of our community. We always say let's get together or let's come together, and I definitely see more of that. And thank you too as well for coming out and supporting us.
Thank you for shedding the light to the people, to the voiceless, to the people that can't even be able to express everything that they want to express. So may Allah reward you tenfold. And I wanted to know your opinion about yesterday. Both of you guys, like, what's going on? Do you guys love it? Because I loved it. I love the turnout.
Yeah, it was good. I thought it was really fun. The basketball game was really fun. It was cool. We were continuing trying to get the win, but that wasn't the case. But we're all winners at the end of the day, showing up and raising money for Palestine as we're slowly starting to gather up all the money from different avenues. Inshallah, looks like that we surpassed the goal from last year, and we'll get a final number, officially. Hopefully by tonight, if not tomorrow, and once we get that number, we'll be posting it on social media, but it's all thanks to people that got it, and we gotta give a shout out to Congressman Rashida, Bill Harper, the U.S. Senate candidate, and Congressman Mayor, and everyone that shared, Aki, and everybody else, and we appreciate them, all the players, all the fans, all the community members that helped out. Like I said, it's all about bringing the communities together, and I hope that that's what people got out of yesterday was we can come together for a bigger cause. So thank you for being a part of it. Thank you all. I appreciate it. And again, this was season 3, episode 23 of MotivateMe313 podcast. We hope that you enjoyed it. Follow Khaled Beydoun. He is the man to follow whenever you want news that's going on in the Middle East or just around the world. I don't know Muslims. Khaled Beydoun is your guy. So thank you for being here today, and we hope you enjoy the show.